Hi, everyone. I can see people are joining. We're going to give people just a couple moments to join from the webinar since we've got folks coming from all across the country. And while we wait for those last folks to join, I do want to go over a couple quick tech notes. My name is Max. I'm from the Northwestern Alumni Association. I'm super happy to be here with Rosie. I was happy to see her at her 30th class party last weekend. It's really fun to see her again, albeit over the computer screen this time. So happy she could be with us. A couple quick housekeeping items for people if you have any questions. Now or during the presentation, if you'd like to ask us something or participate, you can use the Ask Your Question box on the bottom of the webinar dashboard or the chat. Type in the question and hit send for the Q&A, and for the chat, simply hit enter, and that will leave your response. We'll keep an eye on those as much as we can and get to as many as possible at the end. If you do have any technical issues during the webinar, simply close the Zoom window and restart using the same registration link or refresh your browser if you're using it in Zoom browser mode. Typically, issues are Wi-Fi related, and just restarting will solve them. And finally, a link to this recording of the webinar, a survey, and a couple other resources from Rosie will be sent to all of our registrants. So if you are watching this recording after the fact, thanks again for joining us, and please feel free to look at those at your leisure as well. Now, I'm very pleased to introduce Rosie Guagliardo. She is a certified life and career coach, best-selling author, and founder of Inner Brilliance Coaching. She specializes in helping high performers shift from burnout and hustle to energy-driven success, where aligned energy fuels sustainable performance and well-being. Before launching her coaching practice, she built an 18-year career in advertising, working on brands like McDonald's, Unilever, and Anheuser-Busch's Adventure Parks. Today, she brings that same strategic insight to her coaching, guiding clients to align their mindset, energy, and actions to achieve results better than they could have imagined. She combines her Northwestern psychology degree, experience with Forbes Coaches Council, and neuroscience and holistic energy practices to help professionals across a variety of industries. Rosie, welcome back. Thank you so much, and take it away.
Thanks so much, Max. Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be with you. I want to welcome you officially to our webinar From Burnout to Brilliance, where we'll talk about creating a blueprint for your wellness that fuels your success. So if you're a high achiever who's feeling a little depleted, maybe overwhelmed, or like something might be missing in a certain area of your life, even though things might look good on the outside, I want you to know this conversation is for you. Today, we're exploring a new paradigm for success, one where your energy and not your exhausting effort becomes your greatest asset. Now, I've worked with clients who've made some really powerful shifts, like one of my clients who felt like he was stuck in his family's insurance business and now is finally stepping into his dream of working in the music industry. And the best part, he's actually enjoying the journey and he's not just rushing toward a goal and feeling overwhelmed by it. So that's what I call becoming a happier high achiever. And that's what I want for you. Before we dive in, though, I do want to just get to know you a little better and see if this relates to you at all. So you can just write in the chat if you'd like what comes up for you as I share this. Basically, when I'm working with high achievers, I notice these different feelings that they experience. So as you're going through your day-to-day life, are you noticing moments of feeling frustrated or like you're just going through the motions? So specifically, do you feel like you're always on or even on when you should be relaxing? And I say should be, but you say, hey, I'm going to take a break, but you can't. Do you feel like you're getting things done, but you're still feeling exhausted or you're snapping at people? Or are you great at achieving and you're like, yeah, I could get this all done and making it happen, but you're not really sure if it's what you desire deep down. Maybe your mind tells you to just keep pushing even when your body is begging you for rest. I know I've been there. I think I'll just send one more email. I'll just take care of one more thing. Or maybe you're feeling successful, but not totally inspired. Or let's say you have the success you desired and really what you wanted, but you're doubting, can I keep this going? So just type in the chat if this resonates with you, if there's one that you're noticing that resonates the most. So let's see. Unsure what I truly deeply desire and struggling with feeling uninspired, which is totally different from where I've always been. Thanks for sharing, Julie. Yeah. And that could happen. Maybe you've had that moment, but this doesn't mean you're breaking down. It means you're breaking through. Something is shifting for you. Alicia, always on when I want to relax. Yes, that can happen. It's because we're not used to stopping. Sarah, you have to be productive and keep pushing, even when sick. I know that breaks my heart. And you're always on, even when I want to relax. I think that's a big one. And there's some things we can talk about to help you get into that right place where you can actually enjoy the process. So, yeah, keep on adding if you want. But I just want you to know, if you can relate to any of this, please know you're not alone. These are common signs that you're feeling burnout, which has actually been classified as a disease. So it means that on a deeper level, what's happening is you're out of alignment, or I like to say you're out of energetic alignment. And what that could look like is you're doing just fine on the outside, but your inner world may be telling a different story, the one that we're seeing, right? Where maybe you feel depleted or disconnected, or you're lacking clarity, which way to go and what steps to take your life to the next level. And I know this can feel difficult as you go through your day-to-day life, or even on a deeper level. Let's say you're desiring that loving relationship, or a career that lights you up, or health that energizes you. Maybe even on the simplest level, you just want to be more present in your life. So I want to share some good news, and that is there is another way, one that doesn't sacrifice your well-being for your success. But as high achievers, I know we can struggle sometimes because we're taught to just rely heavily on that mental strategy and even that external validation. And we're taught that clarity comes first, then we act. But real fulfillment doesn't follow a fixed path. In fact, many people ask me, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And that's understandable. They just want the answers fast. But that approach can leave us disconnected from what we truly want. So instead of pushing harder, I help clients align their actions with their deepest desires. And that's where their best results and joy live, both of them. And this requires creating a unique path. So I thought I'd share this quote with you for some inspiration. If you can see your path laid out in front of you, step by step, you know it's not your path. Your own path you make with every step you take. That's why it's your path. Now, I love this quote, but I know it can feel inspiring and also daunting, thinking, oh my goodness, how do I figure this out? But I hope this sentiment really just creates the space for you to see how you can be the leader of your life, and so much is possible for you. It also reminds us that our unique path is revealed over time and in the moment through action and not just through planning alone. And sometimes that path doesn't follow the rules or the check boxes we've been trained to chase, right? So, my goal today is to help you start discovering your own path and not someone else's version of success. I thought for those of you who don't know me that well, I want to briefly share how I've been following my own path and why it's so important for me to support others to feel aligned and energized as they go through their lives. And I hope by sharing my story and approach, you'll see how it relates to you and can show you that new way forward. So my path started in the world of advertising, as Max said earlier, running campaigns for some big brands like McDonald's, Unilever, and even Anheuser-Busch theme parks. And I got to this point in my life where I felt like I had it all. I had married my college sweetheart. I had this beautiful condo overlooking the lake and even received different promotions up to VP in my advertising career. But underneath it, I had felt drained. Now, again, I had some fun. I love my life in many ways. But I realized that my successes, my results, were really built on drive and logic and pressure. what I now recognize as an over-reliance on masculine energy. And it just wasn't sustainable. And the shift for me came when I allowed more of my heart, my emotions, and my deeper truth to enter the equation. So I began integrating what I call my feminine energy. In other words, again, my heart, my emotions, my intuition, my joy, even more receptivity. And as I did that, that's when my life transformed. I created a business I love and relationships that light me up and a way of living that energizes me daily. So I want to share this truth that I discovered with you. And now that helps my clients really embody their own truth. And that is that if you really want lasting success, it doesn't come from force, it comes from alignment. And when you integrate your heart and your mind, I'll say your masculine, your feminine energy, you experience what I call aligned success. Your mind starts to support your heart's wisdom. Your structure supports your softness. And when you start with your heart, or I say your truth, and you have a system or structure to support it, you flow through life and you fuel your next steps more naturally. And this is the best part, you start to magnetize results instead of forcing them. And success starts to feel more fulfilling, and it's not just impressive or what you see on paper. So I hope you can see that success doesn't require burnout. It requires energy mastery. And this is the foundation of the energy-driven success method I created, where a life and career is led by your truth and not your to-do list. So I'm excited to share this heart-driven approach with you that starts with you. It starts by connecting within and discovering your truth. And when I'm working with my clients in one of my programs, we also tune into how to connect with others and ultimately how to apply all of these learnings to your world to allow your best path to unfold before you. For today, we'll just be exploring how to reconnect with your truth. So the first part of this journey, and you'll learn how to stop shoulding on yourself. You're not going to say shoulds anymore. And you'll listen to your whole self, your body, your mind, and your heart. And you'll move forward from aligned energy, not pressure. And I also want to share that this approach blends neuroscience, psychology, strategic action, and ancient wisdom into that one holistic system I mentioned, the energy-driven success method. Oftentimes, you only get a few of these modalities, but I combine them all together. And I just want you to know this isn't about abandoning your ambition. Again, it's about aligning. So with that, let's get started. Today, I'm going to be sharing some tools and insights and a unique blueprint to help you feel that connection to where you are in your life while supporting you in taking your next aligned steps. So here's our flow. We're going to start with walking you through the energy-driven success method and the concept of the foundation for wellness, which is designed to help you, again, align with your truth and your heart's wisdom. You'll then do an exercise to help you tune in and connect with your truth. And finally, we'll explore some tools and how to integrate these insights so they're not just ideas, but you can actually take some action and move forward. Finally, I'll share a next step opportunity and a powerful gift that builds on the blueprint that you're going to create today or that you'll learn how to create today. I also just want to mention, I'll use some simple examples when we're talking, but feel free to personalize as we go and make these as real and relevant for you as possible. All right, so moving to your foundation for wellness. Before we dive into your truth, I really want to talk about what supports it, because if your foundation for wellness is shaky at all, it's hard to access that truth. I don't know about you, but if I've ever been off balance in any way, it's hard to really align with my truth and intuition, or even follow through on the goals I say I know I want. So that's why we're going to explore that foundation for wellness, what it includes, why it matters, and how it can truly change your life. So overall, your foundation for wellness taps into your health in general to understand what you need in the present moment to support your well-being so that you can make progress and be resilient when needed. I just want to mention that this foundation isn't a one size fits all, but it is holistic. It can be customized, but it does address all areas of life. In fact, the four core components of your health, which are physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental. And when these areas are supported, you're not just functioning, you're not just getting through, you're thriving. But when they're out of sync, success and results starts to feel like a struggle. So by paying attention to these different components, you're creating what I like to think of as high performance without the burnout and resilience that will open up the doors to results that actually feel good, not just ones you think you should have. So let's take a look at each of these components. We're going to start with a quick overview to understand them. First, I know this might sound obvious, but when you think of physical, it's basically your body, right? Your energy vessel. When it comes to emotional, that's your feelings, your intuition, and what I like to call your life force. When it comes to mental, it's your thoughts, your beliefs, and your focus. And when it comes to spiritual, it's your connection to purpose, to people, and to the bigger picture. When you bring awareness to how you're showing up in each of these aspects of your health, you can not only recover more quickly, you return to your truth and your wholeness. And that's what matters most. What you'll also notice is these aspects connect to the masculine and the feminine energy I mentioned earlier, which leads us to the next slide. I just want to show you what this looks like. So I know our culture, maybe the way you were conditioned to, and growing up, tends to emphasize the doing, right? That overgiving, overdoing, telling, which maps to that physical and mental effort we're putting into our lives or that masculine energy. But when we bring in the emotional and the spiritual, in other words, the feminine energy, we can access other gifts we have, other elements like our presence, who we're being in the moment. We can see how to integrate our whole selves and really experience deep alignment. And I want to emphasize the truth is we need both of these. I just want to keep confirming that we know that we need both. That's why my method honors the whole you. And my hope is that after reviewing all of this, we can shift from being people who maybe wake up and check our email or check our phone and text messages to first checking in with yourself. So in a moment, we'll help you assess how you're doing in each of these areas. But first, I want to go deeper into what balance or even imbalance looks like in each of these areas. And with that detailed information, you can make decisions about what you need in the moment. And I say that because oftentimes when people talk about these different aspects, they might mention they're a bit off balance, but that doesn't give you much information. Sometimes you can say, I'm off balance, but I don't know what to do. So my hope is with what I'm about to share, you'll be able to better understand where you can make some changes and some shifts, even on a small level. So let's start with our physical system, which encompasses, as you can imagine, our physical health, or even our ability in general and our healing processes. Specifically, it can include endurance and strength, and what we typically would consider our energy. It can also include our skin, our organs, our brain, right? I've heard this statement, it can include our meat suit, as some would say, which I think is just funny. But it also includes any physical sensations like hunger and pain. And I wanted to share when your physical system is balanced, you'll feel, as you can imagine, healthy, energized, and flexible. You're really noticing how your body supports your goals. And when it's underbalanced, your body may feel heavy or stressed or depleted. And when it's overbalanced, there may be over control, where you could possibly be obsessing over certain things. When it comes to physical, it could look like obsessing over strength or beauty, or I just want the fast results right now. So I can dive deeper into this if anyone has questions or when we revisit this, but I just want you to know this at the highest level for now. And just recognize that there could be ways that you might want to balance this depending on if you're overbalanced or underbalanced. And that can include looking at your sleep hygiene. It could look at movement. Notice I'm not saying exercise. I don't think it always has to be some big exercise routine. Even though I love that, I also love just going for a walk. Could look like eating more whole foods, and even more in-depth tools like Ayurveda, which can help rebalance your body so it's in service of your energy and not working against it. And I know this has been really important for me. For example, I know I want to feel more energy, so I really make my effort to focus on sleep, exercise, and nutrition to feel that way. And Ayurveda has been a great medical system as it helps me really address any imbalances in my mind and my body constitution, and even in my consciousness. So it could be a great tool for you to use. Next, we can go through your emotional system, which is the bridge between your body and your thoughts. It really encompasses your general outlook on life. It can include your hormones, your nervous system. It's all of that because that does relate to your emotions. So when you're out and about in the world, do you have a positive outlook? And when you're moving through the world, when you're having certain emotions, and you might be feeling what some people identify as negative emotions, can you self-regulate? I say what people might identify as positive or negative because I really believe that emotions, it's just information for you. It can help guide you. It doesn't have to be positive or negative. If you're feeling sad, it's just information for you. So just wanted to clarify that. And what you might notice is since your nervous system and feelings and hormones are all incorporated here, when you're balanced, you feel very open and generous and empathetic and even non-judgmental or less judgmental. You're able to feel and move through your emotions skillfully. I say that's the key, I think, of emotional agility is really being intentional about entering and exiting emotions. But when you're underbalanced, what you might notice is there's a lack of emotional awareness or trust. You might find it difficult to really remain calm and trust other people. And you just might even have just a deep sense of fear. So you can just notice that. When someone's overbalanced with emotions, they may feel like those emotions are overwhelming and even destabilizing. In fact, you might even go from someone who's being passive, then quickly aggressive or obsessive or easily irritated. I'm just noticing in the chat, someone said stop saying negative emotions, said say uncomfortable emotions. That's great, Alicia. I actually even say just I'm noticing some energy because that's what it is. It's energy in your body. Thanks for sharing that. So in this case, some tools I like to use with my clients is to support them is noticing how can I help them with nervous system regulation. And I have different healing methods for that and also emotional agility. And we have different tools and exercises to support them with processing their emotions and really experiencing their emotions. Emotions aren't a bad thing. You just need to learn how to be with them, regulate them. So that's the key here. So you can experience your life more fully and not become rigid. And really shift your energy in a healthy way. So next we're moving on to our mental system, which governs your ability to focus, your thoughts, your beliefs, and generally your decision making. When you're balanced, you can think clearly, you can problem solve easily, and you just feel mentally energized. If you're underbalanced, what that could look like is confusion or brain fog, or even a low sense of self-worth, right? Because all that doubt is building up. When you're overbalanced, it could show up as overworking, that rigidity, or just feeling disconnected from other people where you're just not interested. You're just really focused on getting things done and you're in overdrive. So in that case, some practices that could serve you here is obviously reframing. You know, it's very popular now to talk about that. Okay, I have this thought. How do I reframe it? You could also bring in some inner child work or talk therapy or coaching. All of those can really help bring clarity and alignment, especially when it's paired with a clear sense of purpose. Because if we don't have that clear sense of purpose or reasons for moving forward, we feel in conflict within our mental system. So a quick example is, let's say you happen to be at a job or any type of organization that just doesn't align with your values. That can be an experience where you're not feeling connected. So what I do, a tool that I really like to bring in beyond the reframing of thoughts is understanding your life purpose. And I work with my clients to help develop what we call a life purpose statement to feel in alignment with their truth and give them that clear sense of direction. With that clear sense of direction, they move forward with more ease and there's drive, but it's not in an ego-focused way. So next, let's look at your spiritual system. This connects you to your purpose as well. And it's really about your intuition and your community. In fact, your spiritual system encompasses the first three elements I just mentioned. It's really a through line for all of your mental, emotional, and physical aspects. When you're balanced, it can really just bring calm and that sense of connection to others and to the world, like I said earlier. You can feel courageous, creative, and really sense that you're co-creating with something bigger than you. And please note, this isn't necessarily intended to be about religion. It's just that connection to either your higher self, source, God, universe, whatever feels important to you, whatever aligns with your beliefs. When you're underbalanced, that could feel like isolation. You're feeling separate or overly responsible, or like you have to control everything, and even a level of cynicism. If you are overbalanced, that might show up where this term you may have heard of, spiritual bypassing, or really disconnected from your daily responsibilities, like your head is in the clouds a bit, right? You just say, okay, this doesn't, you're not even on this earth plane. And you might even feel a little bit of a sense of entitlement, like you're owed something. So in this case, what I really like to support my clients with is this concept of accepting of what is, which is really a tough thing to do. And I just want to share it at a high level that it's really understanding how to move through, again, what's occurring in your mind and your body, your emotions, your sensations. There's different tools I share with my clients to help them do that so that you're getting at the root of this energy within you and really understanding how, okay, with acceptance of what is, I'm just have more access to solutions and guidance that I need. If you are struggling with this and you want some simple tips, I always think about how practicing gratitude helps. Maybe doing some breathing, and it doesn't even have to be deep breathing or breath work. I don't always love that term. It could just be a sense of feeling like a connection to your body. Something that could help too is giving. So being in a space to give what you have available. If you have capacity for it, that's another way to have that spiritual connection. So hopefully this is helpful, and you can see that, again, this is connecting everything for you. And these pillars form the foundation of my energy-driven success method. It's a full spectrum system that supports your brilliance at every level. And what I found is that when these aspects are optimized, your energy is magnetic. You're unstoppable. You begin attracting results that are better than imagined. So that's my favorite part. When I first started coaching, I used to often say, hey, I want to help you experience results with joy. And what I've learned through this process and able to support my clients with is getting results even better than they imagined. Because when you feel rooted in your truth, you're showing up as real and authentic, you just start to radiate, and this light is coming from you. That's what I think helps you attract those results better than you can imagine. And success starts to feel not only sustainable, but aligned with your soul. And it reminds me of one of my clients, Liz, who she reignited her acting career while being able to stay grounded in things that were important to her, like her health and her helping her continue to support her family. She was really worried that she went off and did this really unique kind of job that she couldn't maintain her original values. She was able to do both. And I just love seeing her being able to experience success that feels both peaceful and powerful. So hopefully this has been helpful, so you could see that you have all these different aspects that you can explore and align with. So I really want to drive home why I found this foundation to be so powerful. First of all, again, it gives you energy to keep going, right? That's that physical aspect. It helps you move through challenges with ease. So if that's the emotional aspect, we are going to have challenges in our lives. We will be experiencing curveballs in our lives. There's no way to avoid those. I joke with clients, if you find someone who can do that, let me know. I'd love to help develop that program. But life will happen, things will happen. It's how we respond to them, not react to them. This foundation is really powerful because you can start to experience more clarity and making decisions that feel really good, where there's no regret. And that's that mental aspect where you're showing up in that problem solving way. And lastly, this helps you connect to your deeper wisdom, the spiritual aspect, whether again, it's your higher self or something bigger outside of you. Most importantly, what I want you to notice, these are areas you can actually control. So why not start here? Why not really tune into these different aspects of you? Because when you tend to this inner foundation, life starts to feel more manageable and really more magical, is what I have experienced. So with that, I thought we could tune into your truth. And you know what? I didn't add in here, but I could try to get, unless Max, you have the link to the play sheet, just in case. I'm sorry we didn't put that in the chat earlier, but that way you can all have access to it. I don't think I added it in, but you can grab that. Oh, thanks so much. Great. And I'm saying that because you could be taking notes, or when you get the replay, you can jot down some extra thoughts. But what I really wanted you to have was the opportunity to get to this part where we're going to tune into you. And we want to do that by getting grounded and going through these different aspects. So again, I thought it'd be helpful just to have this visual for a quick reminder of each pillar. And you can use these as basic descriptions to evaluate how are you doing in each area. And remember, since all of these systems are connected If any of these pillars are affected, if you're not feeling great physically, it can impact you mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. So just recognize that. And notice that the way I simplified these, and the first descriptor for each pillar includes flexibility, or I also like to consider it as agility. I know when I'm feeling good and agile, physically, I show up differently in my workout classes or in life in general. Same thing with my emotional aspect. I'm able to self-regulate. When it comes to my mental aspect, if I feel that flexibility and agility, I know can really be intentional with my attention span, my focus. I mean, if I get taken off track, I can come back. And then when it comes to our spiritual aspect, yes, we can have a commitment to our own values, but we're also very tolerant of other people. So just wanted to share those explanations so you have that and recognize that. Last one is just you're just connected to, again, your purpose and broader. So with that in mind, okay, you should have I call them a play sheet instead of your worksheet. You can see that in the chat. And if you want to get that, there's a space in there to reflect on how you're doing, to tune into how you can rate each of these and say, gosh, how am I doing in these different areas? And ideally, you rate them on a continuum from 0 to 10. And you can think of maybe just this last week, or see, today's Tuesday, you could think of these last couple of days. Just depends on how you consider your day-to-day life and what increments. Now, 0 to 3 means you've maybe been struggling in the physical aspect, or emotional, or mental, or spiritual. 4 to 6 means you've been surviving, and 7 to 10 means you've been thriving in each of these aspects. I'm going to be quiet for a couple minutes. I will just give you a quick reminder of what each are. Like physical is like, how am I doing with my food intake, my exercise, my sleep, my rest? Emotions, how am I feeling? Positive generally? Am I engaged? Do I feel valued? Mental, am I able to take one thing at a time? Not feel distracted? Do I feel clear? Spiritual, do I have that sense of purpose? Am I connected with my deeper values? And feel like my needs are getting met? Do I have a connection to family, friends, community? And there's no judgment. We just want to acknowledge, with awareness, you can make a new choice. Well, I love that you're all sharing. Please do. And I'm curious, I would love for you to do this for each area. So physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Can you evaluate for each of those? I'll put this back up so you can see that. You want to put in the chat, or if you have any questions, again, we will have time at the end. Okay, we're seeing some 4s and 2s. That's tough, yeah. This is an opportunity. Again, no judgment. You don't have to feel bad. It just starts to give you an understanding of where you can go in and feel more balanced. What tools can you use? I love the comment, Julie, that when you're taking a hiatus from support or a coach, it could be tough. And yes, the reason I'm even reinforcing that is because that might be that mental aspect, that side of you that thinks you have to do it all on your own. You don't. Support is here for you. And I know when I have a partner or collaborator, I always feel better, or a coach or a mentor. Jing, I'm seeing 6, 4, 3, 4. Yeah, we want to get you, some of us, back up into the 7s if possible. Leisha, 5, yes, mental 4, spiritual 9, that's great. Christina, 6s and 3s. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Keep sharing. Again, we can even talk more about this after you've rated them. Just something to look at. Again, maybe take a couple more minutes. What makes you rate them this way? Just take a minute or two to journal on what's going on, and you have some space in your play sheet or in a piece of paper or journal. What is coming up for you? And again, I'd invite you to break each one down. What's going on in the physical aspect? What's going on in the emotional aspect? Why are you giving this a 5 or a 4? Same for mental and spiritual. Take another minute. You can explore more. So I know this can be a lot of information to explore. So I hope as you continue to learn about yourself and what you need, this format, these frameworks can help you recognize what you need more of in the present moment. Like I said earlier, it's not a one and done, this is it, follow the next fad or trend when it comes to physicality, emotions, mental health, or even your spirituality. You have to tune into yourself and recognize what you need in the present moment. So I created a tool that I've shared with my clients and I use myself, and they find it helpful, and I wanted to share it with you. It's basically, this may seem overwhelming all at once, but it helps you to plan your ideal week. And you'll get a link in the email. Actually, if you want, you can sign up for it directly here, but I know Max will be sending. I'll just put it in the chat so you have it if you want access to this, and then you'll get it access to if you when Max sends the email with the recording. But what this tool can help you do is get clear on who you need to be and where to channel your energy when it comes to your whole self. And you start to create vitality for yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually for, again, that sustainable and what I like to think of as soul satisfying success. We're not just getting results. Oh, I'll send it again. It sounds like we're not. Oh, I'm not sharing it with everyone there. No, I think it's I'm sharing it with just the hosts and the panelists. So let me hit everyone. Did you need the play sheet as well? I think, yeah, no, the one previous. Okay, there you go. So you should see it now. So you can get access to this. And what I love about this is it really taps into what's going on in your subconscious mind, as well as it's very practical. What do you need to get done? Let me tune into my mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health for each day, because we change every day. We can change minute by minute as well. And then recognize, okay, what do I need to do on a daily basis? I have 3 things I do every day without fail, and that is move, meditate, and have warm lemon water with turmeric and a couple other ingredients to help with inflammation and pH balance in my body. Then I have my to-do list that I normally would look at, and that all goes into this planner. And instead of just going in and doing the work, I stop and I tune into who I need to be. Because when you do that, you actually inspire the next best steps for you. And I also like to bookend my days with gratitude and acknowledgement. So I start by looking at what I'm grateful for in the morning, and at the end of the day, acknowledgements of myself, even. So often we talk about acknowledging uh, others, and I want to make sure we're acknowledging ourselves. Oh, Debbie, thanks. This is great. Thanks for sharing. Yes. Well, I'm glad you like it. And I know that, again, this could be a lot of information. So when you sign up for this, you'll also get instructions. So you're not just trying to figure out, what do I need to add again? Obviously, you can listen to the recording again or contact me. I hope we can stay connected. But again, I just want you to know this is a really valuable tool where it has all the information you need in one place. And like I said, you're going into your subconscious mind. You can notice what's going on in the 4 pillars while practicing gratitude for yourself and for others. And what this really does is this tool can help you shift from focusing on what you should be doing to who do you want to be, and then taking those inspired next steps. And from an informed place, you can make better choices about what you need in the moment, not just going through your day blindly. I also have a daily version of this. If anyone wants that, again, please reach out. I can send that off separately, but the weekly version encompasses all of this. So let's wrap up with what I hope you feel like you can take away from today, and how to further integrate any learning. Something I like to just always help people remind them of is, what am I willing to let go of to support me? And again, this is all in your playbook. You can write this down or note it. So what can I let go to honor and fortify my foundation for wellness? How can I be more balanced in any of these pillars? Something you can ask yourself. If something's coming to mind, I'm going to be quiet for 30 seconds. Just jot it down. These inspired moments is when the most authentic answers come. Beyond what you can let go of, what can you commit to be more balanced? And you can consider each area of your life, each aspect of your health, or just pick one. I know it's tough. We're going quickly in our lives, and to just slow down, we need a minute. Andrea, you're going to make sure you fill your cup up regularly so it never gets empty. Yes. I remember a mentor telling me you have to give. I've heard the phrase give from a full cup, but someone said, no, give from an overflowing cup, like overflowing saucer. Like, you have your cup, you have your saucer, but oh my gosh, it's so full, it's flowing over. And I love that idea, because that means you have so much capacity. And list which tool can you use. Do you want to use this weekly planner, the daily one I mentioned? Is there something else? Taking a moment to declare that, in fact, put it in the chat. It will empower you. It will anchor in your brain more. Andrea, I'm glad you like that. Giving from that overflow pace. Commit to reframing, Julie. That's good. Taking a breath before speaking and being thoughtful in how I communicate. Yeah, and maybe it's just take the breath, focus on the breathing. Because over time, then you'll remember, okay, that's going to help me with my next step. This sounds funny. You can even set an alarm to practice taking a breath. Just need to rewire our brain. I know alarms seem a little crazy, but I love them. So Now I want you to know you have a choice, right? You are empowered to apply what we've discussed for yourself today, or even get some support. And I know it's a lot what I shared, and there's so much more I wanted to share. So I want you to know you don't have to do this alone. And it can help to be within a community or have some structure from a mentor or curriculum that can help you. So if you'd like to explore what you uncovered today, or even go a bit deeper, please feel free to book a no obligation consultation. I call it a return on energy session. I'll put a link in the chat, and hopefully everyone could see this. We can explore what's holding you back and create a path for moving forward. It could be one, again, that energizes you and excites you. Or if you're ready for coaching and you want to explore some options, I have a variety of programs that can support you, from private coaching to a group program to an online version that you can do as a self-study. And I've recently added a done with you option where we can help you create the roadmap and structure to support you as you flow through your day to experience, again, what I like to call aligned success. So I'd love to hear from you, whether you are looking for more support or just stay connected. Here's my website if you want more information. I am on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook at Inner Brilliance Coaching as well. Here's my email. You're going to receive a link, again, from Max and Northwestern with all of the recordings and the play sheets. So you have that available, and you have a link to schedule this call and see how you can implement what we uncovered today. Or if you have any questions. My hope is at the end of the day that you feel like you have more inspiration and some tangible next steps to have a life you love and get results, but while feeling more ease, grace, and joy every step of the way. So thank you everyone for being here today. It was just great to be with you. And if there's any questions, please let me know. Thank you, Christina. Thanks, Debbie. I love it. Yeah, I try to be calm and share perspective and tools, so that's good. Thanks, Julie, Alicia.
Rosie, thank you. This was phenomenal as usual. Thank you so much again for joining us. I want to leave some space for folks if they do have any questions. We've got a couple minutes here at the end. So you've got the Q&A box, or you can just feel free to use the chat if you're comfortable with that. So if we want to take the next couple minutes, if anyone has any outstanding questions. And I also want to thank everybody for joining, by the way. It's nice to see some familiar names in here. So it's kind of fun for me to see some folks that I've worked with in the past. Thank you all. Welcome back. Thank you
I,
for staying virtually connected with us.
yeah, I think the same thing, Max. I love having these webinars just to see some, meet new people, but get to see some familiar faces from the back in the day.
So Rosie, well, I'm going to give people a couple minutes to put their questions in the box. Um, and we're going to start off with this one that I just saw in the Q&A. Do you have a video or recording with your grounding advice, the one that you mentioned with Mother Earth?
Do I have a video recording of that? I have a version that helps with a felt sense of safety, but yeah, I can definitely share that.
Perfect. I can include that in the
Yeah.
post email as well. I've got a couple links here. See another question in the chat here. Just generally, how to slow down at work when there's a lot to do?
Yeah, I think that's a great one. I think that, gosh, there's so many. Again, you could look at, is there some physical frenetic energy? Do you need to take some breaths just to get reconnected to your body? Is there an emotional aspect where you're feeling some sort of way about what's going on at work? And I have an emotional scale I give to my clients to help them understand that, because then you can process the emotion, and that starts to help you slow down and recognize, what do I need in this moment? And then mentally, I often think about, okay, breaking it down. I think what happens is, I know sometimes if I feel overwhelmed and I have a million things to do, I'm like, where do I start? Let me just keep going. But I think my tool that I shared with you can help you break it down day by day. What do you need to do? When do you need to do it? And then block that out in your calendar. Your mind starts to get calmer just because you have a plan. That negative self-talk you have starts to get a little more quiet. So that's really helpful.
Got another great one in the chat. Do you have any advice for prioritizing sleep? I'm getting better at time boxing work, but now I'm staying up later to try to squeeze in exercise, cooking, journaling. I can't seem to fit it all within comfortable hours for the day.
I get it. When I first left my ad job, I would try to get all of these things in, and I found myself, it's like it just gets to be difficult. So I think with sleep prioritization, what can help is actually making that the first thing. I mean, I wear an Aura ring. I've always had a device to track my sleep. They say for high achievers that might be a bit too much because then you're always trying to meet some deadlines. But I think if you have the capacity to actually prioritize your sleep first, make that the number one value, then build around it. And something I love is sleep hygiene, where I love to say take an hour before bed, but sometimes that's too tough. So say 5 minutes, 15 minutes to have a sleep hygiene. One that I love is I dim the lights. That signals to my brain, hey, we're going to start getting quiet. And then even if you have to send one more email, do one more thing. If your brain is used to recognizing that's the downtime when the lights are dim, then your brain will know even if you have to send one more email that, oh, this is time to shut down and you'll go to sleep faster. I have a list of things I like to do as well. So if you're interested in sleep hygiene, reach out and I could share that with you. What kind of work do you need to do to attract versus feeling like I'm chasing or forcing things to happen? I think the energetic work, if I'm following, is your question is really about nervous system regulation because we hold so much of these thoughts and beliefs and energy in our body. And so as a child, you might have learned that we have to keep chasing and doing to force things to happen. We need to get to that root of that pattern. And sometimes I do that with inner child work to understand that and rewire that pattern, create a new association. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I think that's honestly is the perfect question to close on. I had a really similar one that I was planning to ask, but this was great from the chat. So again, thank you as usual, everyone, for staying so engaged with these. You make my job very easy, and quite enjoyable too. I love learning along with everybody. So I know this brings us right about to noon. So just want to say again, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Reminder that I'll be sending out the webinar recording link, a couple other resources from Rosie, as well as a post-event survey. We'd of course really appreciate if you could fill that out. That helps us keep good content coming out to the alumni community. So thanks again, everybody. Have a great rest of your afternoon. Go Cats.
Yeah, thanks everyone.